So much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Welcome to Earrings Off. We're thrilled to have Rob Finlay with us, a true entrepreneur and innovator. Over the past 25 years, Rob has built and sold 4 companies, earning a reputation for practical wisdom and forward-thinking leadership. He champions the power of compounding small efforts, transparency and leadership, and staying open to change, especially when it comes to new technologies like AI. And it doesn't stop at business. Rob applies that same growth mindset to farming and personal finance, inspiring creativity and resilience in every part of life. Get ready for a conversation about embracing change, unlocking potential, and finding success in unexpected places. Let's dive in.
Well, hello. We have with us today Rob Finlay. We are excited to have you here, Rob, with us today on Earrings Off. Rob, we're going to jump right into our questions. So, Rob, you built and sold 4 successful companies, 4 over 25 years. When you look back, what's one lesson that's just as true in life as it is in business?
All right. Well, we start with the tough questions right up front. Well, thanks, Lou and Teresa. Thank you so much for having me. I think if I think about the answer for this, is probably going to be something that people would consider mostly for business, but also will apply to life, and that's the theory of compounding, right? So in business and investments, people understand the value of compounding, right? You put a little money in and you get a benefit, right? And you put a little bit more in and it compounds on itself and it grows. And in business, just like life, it doesn't have to be just financial. It can also be from a business. You're trying to build your employees. Well, working with your employees every day builds a return that's greater every day and every time that you put time and effort into it. And on personal side, it's the same thing. If you want to improve yourself, it's not going to happen overnight. You have to put a little bit in, but a little bit in over time. And this could be creating relationships, creating a healthy lifestyle, doing things to improve your life. The small investment that you make compounds over time and creates a much greater return.
Rob, I like it. I like it. And it's easy to understand in terms of, putting a little bit of investment in and knowing that there's going to be a return. I like that. Yeah.
And that's the thing we have to be mindful, right? I mean, we all know life is hard, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, and
Yeah.
it is hard. It's like, oh, geez, you know what? I've got to lose weight or I've got to eat healthier.
Yeah.
I can't just do it overnight. I have to do a little bit, and it happens with everything. From everything that you look at, make these little small baby steps, and they will compound and create great return, and it's less
Yeah.
daunting.
Right. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
like it too. Yeah.
Mhm.
So in Beyond the Building, you talk about leadership in an evolving market. For someone leading a small team or just leading their own life, what's the most important mindset shift do they need to make right now?
Be transparent. I
Okay.
think this is not just leadership from a business, but this is being a parent and everything else. Being transparent. And I think the reason I say that is that times are tough, right? It is. These markets are changing. We have political things that we can't control.
Yeah.
There's so many
Yeah.
things that are going on that are outside of our control. And you want to portray as a leader, you want to portray confidence. And you can be confident, but at the same point, you can sort of be a little bit more humble and say, hey, you know what? I don't have all the answers, folks, but I know I'm going to drive forward. I'm going to put my best into getting things done and doing the best that I can. That's all I can guarantee you is I'm going to do the best I can. But I hopefully that will be enough.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, Rob, you've advised billions in transactions and pioneered strategies for thriving in volatile markets. Now, for our earrings off listeners who aren't in commercial real estate, what's one principle from your work that they could apply to their personal finances or career?
Be observant, be open. I think one of the things that makes a great entrepreneur, a great business person, a great person is being open to what's going around you, right? And that's a really important thing. And being observant means I'm paying attention to the news, I'm paying attention to what I see at my local, my business, I see my job, the restaurants that I go to. Seeing the things that are changing around you is what is going to really make a difference for you. And that's everything. Look, AI, there's no joke AI is coming and AI is here and AI is going to be game changing just like the internet was game changing, right? Being observant and accepting it, not just saying, well, I can't do anything about it, but being open and observant to these to what's going around you, I think is a very important skill.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. Yeah, AI, I mean, you can't go a day without hearing anything about
Yeah.
uh AI these days. So
Well,
much going on with that.
what's amazing is how powerful it can be and how much it can help you when you understand what it is and when you're not afraid of it. And I think, um, so I think when we were speaking beforehand, I told you I live on a farm. I spend most of my time farming when I don't work, and a lot of times we do an open session with all the people that work on the farm, and these are people who deal with equipment and they deal with everything. And just like we do training sessions where one day we'll talk about chainsaw maintenance or farming equipment or new things that are going on in agriculture, I started doing a technology update and showing people the power of it and not to be afraid of it. And I think the more that we can expose ourselves and embrace it and see how that's sort of the creativity of it is, how is this going to help me? How can I do my job? And it was very interesting actually. We were, not to bore your audience, but we were talking about something as esoteric as hoses,
Hmm.
hydraulic hoses.
Hmm.
And when I showed the people how easy it was to use AI to get the answers, and not just an answer, but actually a solution to a problem,
Absolutely. Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, wait a second." And so now they're all, I get pulled from the field. Hey, Rob, how do we do this? What do we do this? But being open to it, you can't be afraid of it, and you can't ignore it, and you can't be afraid of it. You have to embrace it head on. And once you do, you'll find that such a free service will be very impactful and beneficial to your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, so now you've talked about a couple of things that interest me a great deal. Um, the fact that you're using AI on the farm, and
Mhm.
what I'm curious about is have you used it to get growing tips, or and then also what crops are you growing? So two-parter.
Yeah. So we are historically. So this was an old farm that traditionally has been commercially farmed.
Yeah,
So they put fertilizer on, they put the fungicides, pesticides on, and they remove the crop. So when I bought this farm a few years ago, my soil was effectively dead. And I think a lot of people, especially if you have a garden or a farm, you know how important the soil is, right? If you don't
yeah,
have good soil, you're not growing anything. And if you're in North Carolina, you got clay. Well, you got to
yeah.
put something else in it, or otherwise you're
Yeah.
not getting
Yeah.
much out of it. And so this farm, I realized that the crops were secondary. I had to build the foundation. So we're actually a laboratory on this farm. We have basically have taken plots on this farm, this historic farm, and are running tests on soil amendments and all natural. So to me, it's trying to regenerate the soil. Where actually AI has been fantastic. It's not it's not thinking for me. I
right.
ask it. okay, I need to come up with a test plan for these 9 plots. One is going to do nothing, one is going to do commercial farming, and then these other plots, let's come up with solutions and trials. Biochar, soil food web, soil amendments, earthworm castings, you name it.
Wow.
We're trying to change the microbiology of our soil, but we
Wow.
want to do it in the role of taking this and making it commercially available. I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
that the soil regeneration is so grassroots, right? And it's going to be hard. It's hard to change these commercial farmers who must rely on a margin that is so thin. I know we're not on camera, but I mean it's paper
Yeah.
thin the margin that they have to work with. So
Yeah.
we're trying to make it so that our soil, the biodiversity and the fungi that we're going to put in the soil is as easy to apply as NPK, the fertilizer that they buy in the co-op.
Yeah.
You know what? I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. How did you even get there?
This is what happens when you put an entrepreneur and a business person, a finance person into farming. It was
Okay.
my
Okay.
first year, and I did all the mistakes of every farmer. Sorry, every gentleman farmer, which I'll Whereas I come in there, I don't really know farming. I'm studying it, haven't really done it, and I have to rely on the people around me, and that's a great thing to do. But if you take traditional practices, so the first year I buy this farm, I'm like, guy comes out, the fertilizer salesperson, he's like, oh, you need this, and this, and it'll cost you this much money. I'm like, okay, we put it on the field. And then after we do that and we hay and we pull our crops off and I look at all the costs, I'm like, wait a second, everything I put in, I just took off. And there's really no margin. So why am I sitting there with diesel machines going? Yes, tractors are fun for me, but why am I going doing this if there's no money for it?
Yeah.
And so I said that can't work. So then I started doing it and started going down the rabbit hole of looking at it. And then I realized we have some beds that we use for our garden, which we have our which we use for ourselves. I'm like, wait a second. I put the earthworm castings in there. I'm doing biochar. I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm creating great rich soil. So I can look at I was pulling out my garlic earlier this year, and I'm seeing earthworms clumped to my garlic. I was like, well, that's the way soil is because I know I can't go out to my fields and do that. My field's all compacted. So it just became one of those things where if you take the curiosity, once again, be open, be observant around you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and things can happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
dreaming in color. That's what
Absolutely.
that, yeah.
You have to dream, right? You have to dream.
Yeah.
You have to be open and you have to be willing to fail, right?
Right.
I'm sure every commercial farmer around me is like, oh, this guy, what an idiot. He's just, he's taking fields off of rotation to just test. And I'm willing to do that, and I'm fortunate that I have that ability to do it. I mean, our poor farmers, most of our farmers don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So your book, Hey Dad, came from your role as a father of four.
yes,
What's one piece of advice from your book that you wish someone had given you when you were starting out as an adult?
budgeting,
Budgeting. Yeah, that's a good one.
budgeting, and not just budgeting because it's funny. I had this conversation actually with one of my daughters the other day. Actually, budget has a bad connotation, right? Budget is bad, right? You put me on a budget. Dad, I don't want to go on a budget. I want to go and I want to see my friends and actually, when I was writing the book, Hey Dad, I interviewed a lot of people, and there was this financial advisor, and she said, I never call it a budget. I call it financial freedom. And I said, interesting, what's the difference? She said, well, if you budget is that bad word, but financial freedom is you're able to do the things that you want to do, to have the life that you want to have. But most importantly, you have the ability to sleep at night because you're not worried about every penny and where you're doing because that's financial freedom. Financial freedom is not worrying about your money. It's not meaning that you have unlimited. It just means that you can live and you have a good life within the amount that you bring in.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I was like, it just the light bulb went off because right, budget is usually a negative thing. I make this much money and I got to spend this, and this. I have no more money left on this. As opposed to saying, okay, let's work in these confines
Yeah.
and say, hey, you know what? Yes, you do get to go out. You do get to spend some money on going out to dinner. But if you do that, let's make some choices, right?
Mhm.
You're going to go out once a week,
Mhm.
not 3 times a week.
That's right.
And so that's where I think budgeting, and I was bad. I was a finance major in college. I get out of college, I'm a businessman, but yet I was levered to the hilt, had more credit card debt. Every paycheck went to go pay minimum payments. I was in horrible financial shape because I didn't budget and I didn't believe in financial freedom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
tell you what, I think most of us were there, particularly in our younger days. So yeah, coming out of college, all of that.
Yes.
So Rob, entrepreneurship can look glamorous from the outside, but there's always a messy middle. Can you share a time when things weren't going as planned and what got you through it?
So every day, that was a great statement. It's all exciting on the outside, right? And if you look at social media, right? I mean,
Oh
you
yeah.
look at I go on Instagram, I have nothing compared to some 20-year-old kid who's flying around to Dubai in
I
his
know, right? Yeah.
in his big Boeing business. Like, let's be real. Being an entrepreneur is a very, very, very difficult, not a great job, right? It's great when you sell your business, right? And you can walk away and you not have to worry about it. When you say when was the last time you had to have stress or deal with it? Probably 20 minutes ago, right? It's always
Yeah.
something, right? Somebody's quitting, somebody's mad, somebody's upset, there's an issue. Sales aren't nearly what they're supposed to be. The product isn't where it's supposed to be. So it is not a glamorous job. I think people think it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
So that messy middle, the reality of running a business is it's filled with toil, stress, the stresses that people don't see, marital stresses,
Yeah. Yeah.
family stresses, all that other stuff. So, it, but the thing that I've learned long ago is that you have to separate yourself. I used to think that my business defined me. And when I sold my first business, I was 35 years old, was very fortunate, had a very nice exit. I was the most depressed I've ever been because I did not know. I had more money. I didn't have to worry about money anymore. But my whole world was defined by that business.
Mhm.
And the next day I went out and I was at a friend's house and they said, oh, well, we're meeting some people. And they said, well, what do you do? I said, well, I used to run a business and now I don't. And so they're like, oh, this guy's unemployed. Okay, well, maybe I can find you a job somewhere. But
Yeah.
it is, and you become depressed because then you don't know who you are, right? And you lose purpose. And having purpose in life is a critical component. People need purpose. And
Yeah.
if your job and your business is your only purpose, well, guess what? If something changes, that's not a good thing. So I find getting out, farming, gardening, woodworking. Back in my younger years, I raced cars. I learned how to fly a helicopter and a plane, like crazy, stupid stuff. Now that I'm older, I have enough danger using power tools, let alone, operating heavy equipment. So.
So you've navigated big shifts in both the economy and and in business trends. How do you personally stay grounded and keep your vision clear when the future feels a little uncertain?
So two things, and these are two things that anybody can do. You need a creative outlet and you need a physical outlet. And I think the creative outlet can be as simple as drawing,
Mhm,
doodling,
mhm.
writing, singing, poetry, poems. It doesn't matter, but do something that's going to sort of energize your
Yeah.
anything. Just take a break, take 5, 10 minutes. And there are people who have created major followings based on that theory of like, hey, you want to get into flow, you're and all this other stuff, but you know what? You need to have a little creative outlet. And so break, stop from the work, stop from the grind, and take a few minutes for yourself and draw,
Mhm.
paint, meditate, whatever. I think meditate sometimes actually comes to the physical side, but the creative side of drawing, writing, singing, go in the car and sing. It doesn't matter. It's so good for you. The second thing is the physical. Everybody needs to do something that's going to move the body. And clearly, as I say, you're not, you don't have me on camera, so you can't see it. I'm not the most physical, right? I'm not the specimen of physical health. I'm not a model, but I understand the importance of walking in the woods, the importance of moving a little bit. We just can't be chained to our desk. And when you start to use this creativity of reading and writing or whatever you want that makes you happy and doing a little bit of walking or just a little bit of physical movement, the world just opens up and you can deal with so much more than you think you're capable of.
Okay. Well, Rob, the next question you might have in your response just now, you might have covered a little bit of this, but listen, for someone listening today, Rob, who feels stuck,
Mhm.
whether in their job, business, or personal goals, what's the first small move you tell them to make toward change?
I think it comes back to that same thing. And look, it's okay to feel stuck, right? I think people realize, and I think younger people don't realize this as much as maybe older people do, is you will go through this time in your life where you feel stuck, where you might question what's your purpose, right? I was on a podcast with women who had their children had just gone off to college, and they were feeling like this is their whole thing, or they've left the nest, if you will, and their whole purpose is this, and now they're lost. And this happens so often. So it's okay to be stuck. It's okay to be lost or feel like you lack purpose. As long as you realize that's probably the most important thing is that you feel that way and you acknowledge that you feel that way. Depression happens when you sort of don't know what's going on. You sort of feel your loss of control and understanding that, hey, wait a second, I'm in this spot because I sort of lost my way. I don't know my path. And embrace that is actually a good thing. It's time for your next life. Everybody gets, and that's the wonderful thing about life, is that you get to change, you get to adapt, you get to grow as a human being, you get to grow as a person, and it's a wonderful thing. And so take this opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I'm feeling a little stuck. Let me grow. Let me do something that is going to be fun. Let me do something that I'm inspired by that's going to make me feel good. And you'll start to see that you'll start to find that purpose.
Mhm. And what I hear, though, Rob, in your response is similar to what you referenced earlier with AI, just not being so resistant to the reality, but
Mhm.
to embrace it and to even acknowledge, yeah, I'm stuck, but I'm not going to fight against it. I'm going to acknowledge it is what it is and work my way through it. So great response, and we appreciate that. We appreciate your time today, Rob. Those are all of the questions we have for you today. Do you have any parting words for our audience here at Earrings Off?
Well, I think the one thing, so first of all, thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it. But look, for people out there, stay positive, stay open. I think there's so much that you can be grateful for. I think everybody has something that they can be grateful for, and just remember that. Ignore all the noise, ignore everything. Just be true to yourself and find some happiness that you can be true with yourself.
Mhm. And Rob, you can you share with our audience how they can contact you or information on your website and they can
Absolutely.
follow
So
up? Yeah.
yeah, sorry. So the best way is my website. It's Rob Finlay, Finlay.com. So you feel free to go on that. You can find me on Instagram and all the social media stuff. I try to make my Instagram sort of more of what my life is. So you'll see some business stuff, you'll see some book stuff, you'll see a lot of farming stuff, a lot of goats. Apparently goats and chickens do very well on my Instagram. Me talking about business doesn't do so much, but but feel
Funny.
free to do that and reach out. And I take questions all the time. I'm actually more approachable than people think. So if people have questions, they want to have conversation, just reach out.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to come and share with our audience. And we wish you all the best here at Earrings Off. Take good care.
Thank you so much again.